Hi, everybody. Zeke Torres, and this segment is about what happens if you make a mistake, and maybe the types of mistakes there are. Because if you've been able to, keep interested from the various segments that you've watched, then you're likely ready to continue exploring, trying, and evaluating Git for yourself. And one of the other roadblocks for most people that are trying this is they're concerned they're going to mess up their work or they're going to come up with an issue that they can't solve. So at the core, one of the things I try and remind people is that Git is meant to protect us. It's meant to protect our work. It's meant to protect our folders and our files. And the minute we initiate a repository, lock in a copy in the main or the master branch, and push that to the remote repository like GitHub or Bitbucket, we've added a copy out there that is now something we can clone or copy back in case we get into trouble. So let's review the common mistakes and, cover some of the basic issues. If you do happen to make a mistake while you're navigating your folders and you did not notice that you accidentally erased a .git repository in your laptop or on your desktop, it is an issue. It is a mistake, but you can rest assured that by cloning that repository again fresh, by using your GitHub desktop and actually cloning that repository and fetching it again, it'll bring it all back. And so that's one of the reasons why I can't stress enough that when we're done with our commits, when we're done with the things that we're working on in our branch, it's important to push that copy to the remote repository. This way we've protected ourselves in case our laptop goes out, our files or folders on our laptop get corrupted, or we get hit by a virus. That remote copy of that repository is our backup. It is our main source for the work that we're trying to protect. And so another place that you can make a mistake is, and it happens to me semi-regularly, is if I think that I'm on a specific branch, but I'm not, and I start to type and do things and make changes. That is a kind of mistake that I believe, people new to Git can start to make. We think that we're on the right branch, and suddenly we realize we're on the main branch. Git and GitHub Desktop and the software that we use to interface with Git will warn us that we have an issue. It will tell us that we're doing things because we're going to get those prompts. And that's one of the reasons why I want to focus for this topic using the interfaces like GitHub Desktop and SourceTree so that you can see the messages as opposed to the command line. If you use the command line, then you really have to know what you're doing because you won't get a lot of the prompts and a lot of the boxes and the alerts that you would normally get with an interface like GitHub Desktop. And so there are ways to navigate and mitigate those issues. But even if for some reason you were to merge a branch or mess up a branch in that way, remember the commits and the pull requests allow us to jump back in time. And so we can actually bring back the way something looked by going to a specific commit. So at the very least, if we do have issues that we can't solve, ask for help. And the good news about Git is it's so popular, it's readily available with a slew of YouTube resources, Stack Overflow resources, you name it. It's already been put out there. And in fact, I've added some good links to the bottom of the paper so that you can continue to learn some other Git techniques or some Git methodologies. But it is a great resource and it's a stable product. It's a very popular product that isn't going away. So there's places and ways to actually solve things. And one of the advices or one of the ways that I tell not only individuals but teams that it's okay to make mistakes is if we reach the point where we've actually made a very complex issue, a very strange scenario that we need to solve, that's a good indicator that the team or the person is actually using Git well or Git enough that now we have a huge spaghetti of a problem that we have to solve. Many of the problems, I'd say about 90%, can be solved fairly easily. And the other 10% typically involves some type of, editing or rework of some part of a branch or some part of a code. We recover a copy of code or a copy of something. But those issues tend to be involved. If I were to put this presentation in terms of a beginner type introduction, and then there's a set of presentations or topics for an intermediate and an advanced, I would say the complex Git issues typically happen when we're between the intermediate to advanced level uses of Git, where we have multiple repositories and a lot of cloning going on, concurrent work by different team members. That's where we see the issues with Git get very complex, and they're not typically hard to solve. They just may incur some added work that normally people fight over who doesn't want to do it. That's typically the main issues that you'll start to encounter as you start to work with Git. So, for all that said, you can relax that the majority of the issues that you'll face, you shouldn't interrupt your work, you shouldn't lose any code, and you should be able to recover anything if you've done the correct steps in putting your work and your commits in the right place and then pushing it up to your remote repository.